Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Africa Football Showdown, your one stop shop for everything about African football. And of course, right now we're concentrating on the Africa Cup of Nations, well and truly underway in Ivory Coast. We're now playing the third group matches in the tournament. We'll have the results so far for you, including those late equalizers in the game between Egypt and Cape Verde, as well as Ghana versus Mozambique. Plus, we'll have the Zambian legend, the Great Kalu, Kalusha Bwalya, with us right here on the Africa Football Showdown. Played Daniel agonizing over watching his beloved Black Stars of Ghana play against Mozambique. And that game ended just before we started this recording. Daniel, good news for you?
Very bad news, Peter. It's the hope that kills you. I feel like when you're supporting Black Stars, it's always the hope that kills you because for about 50 minutes, in fact, for about an hour, Ghana was in the lead against Mozambique. Cape Verde was pulling a draw against Egypt. So that means that Ghana was going to qualify. And then, in a matter of about 20 minutes, we lost that lead, a 2-goal lead against Mozambique. It became 2-all. And in just the dying embers of the Egypt's Cape Verde game, Egypt took the lead, and so it looks like it's over for Ghana. It's going to be two
Listen,
points.
we'll come to those permutations in a short while here on the program. I also want to say a big hello to Mimi. Better news for you today, Mimi.
Look, it's been a good day, I guess, of African football. Nigeria, they got the win against Guinea-Bissau. Of course, it was an own goal by Sangate when Moses Simon crossed from the left flank trying to find Victor Osimhen, and Guinea-Bissau, deflected it into their own goal. But, it's an AFCON full of surprises. I'm still shocked, to be honest. I'm still trying to take in that Egypt, I'm sorry, not the Egypt, the Ghana result. How could you be leading 2-0 for most of the game? Jordan Ayew taking the 2 penalties. And the next thing you know, yet again, it ends in a draw. Daniel, I'm still wondering what's going on with Ghana.
I have no idea really at this point. What I did observe, because I must admit I switched from the Mozambique Ghana game to the Cape Verde Egypt game, which is now 2-2, by the way. And so Cape Verde
Interesting.
has pulled a draw
Wow.
in that game. And if you look, but Egypt is still number 2 in the group because Egypt had 3 draws. If it ends this way, anyway, so that's just by the way. So the thing is, really, in both in both the Mozambique game and our first game against Cape Verde, we seemed to sit back and play very defensively, and we were allowing the opposing teams to make incursions into the final third and look very dangerous in front of goal. If you look at the tail of the tape against Mozambique, you realize that one of the Mozambique goals was actually a penalty in the 91st minute, and then they equalized in the 94th minute from Enildo Mandaba. So this was like basically a loss of
I was
concentration
going to say, yet
after.
again, a loss of
hmm
concentration that we're seeing
hmm
in the Ghana game. Yet again, towards the end of the game.
So, Daniel, games have been concluded in groups A and B. Can you just remind us of what the scores were in those matches?
Right, so let me take you all the way back to Saturday. Cape Verde won against Mozambique 3-0. Senegal beats Cameroon 3-1. Guinea beats Gambia 1-0. Algeria drew with Burkina Faso 2-2. And Mauritania lost to Angola 3-2. There, Tunisia, Mali, and Morocco DRC, as well as Zambia, Tanzania, all ending in a 1-all draw. South Africa um pulled off a spirited win against Namibia 4-0. But Monday was when all the drama took place. So, Peter, on Monday, a very dramatic finish to the group stage matches in groups A and B. In group A, we had Nigeria beating Guinea-Bissau by that own goal. And in the other game, the host nation Ivory Coast lost by 4-0 to Equatorial Guinea of all teams. Emilio Nsue pulling a brace after scoring 3 against Guinea-Bissau in the previous game. And in Group B, my woes continue. Both games ending with a 2-all draw. Mozambique, Ghana, and Cape Verde, Egypt. What this means is that Cape Verde finishes top of the group with 7 points, and Egypt finishes second with 3 points. Ghana getting 2, and Mozambique getting 2 as well. That's where we
Indeed.
are.
Thank you very much. Listen, Mimi, we're talking about shockers, right? And we've mentioned Ghana, letting that 2-goal advantage slip against Mozambique, but Ivory Coast, the hosts,
I mean,
losing
that is
4-0.
really, yeah. That really is a big match of today, to be honest, that result. First of all, can we just say how incredible Equatorial Guinea have been in this tournament? And I think they've been a surprise package for many people. But I don't know why they've been a surprise package, because in 2015 at the AFCON, they got through to the quarterfinals. And as well, coming into this competition, they've had very good results in the World Cup qualifiers. So I always find it interesting when people say that they're a surprise package. I guess in a way they are, but if you've been following, I guess people have been following the results, they're not a surprise package at all. They've been putting in the work. And Emilio Nsue, oh my God, the 34-year-old player, for the captain of his team, had a hat trick against Guinea-Bissau, coming into the match against Ivory Coast, scoring a brace. And what's so interesting about him is he plays as a right back, as a defender for his side, third division in Spain, but yet he's playing as a striker for his country at the Africa Cup of Nations. So he really is the story of this competition so far, leading in the Golden Boots. 5 goals in 3 games. Let's rip off our predictions. I think we've all pretty much lost out on our predictions for who's going to finish Golden Boot, because nobody said Emilio Nsue, but he is leading the race right now.
Absolutely. And, we because we've covered so many Africa Cups of Nations, we know we don't really like the host nation leaving in the first round because it depletes the crowds that come to the stadium. I mean, Ivory Coast still have a chance to qualify as one of the best finishing third teams. So as one of the best finishing third placed teams, but it's going to be really hard work for them, isn't it?
It's going to be a tough one. So Ivory Coast, for instance, will be looking at the results of the Group B final games, making sure that their 3 points are ahead of the third place team in Group B, which is Ghana, which is 2 points. So it's a very convenient result for them from the Group B games. But there are still a number of games before the group stage games are over finally, and we can know their final fate. I must say that that first win against Guinea-Bissau is going to put them on a strong footing. But Peter, at the heart of it, this is not the conversation you want to have about a host team after the group stage of a competition. A host team with the quality that Ivory Coast has on the pitch, with the history that Ivory Coast has in the dressing room. I'm wondering, where did this all go wrong?
I think the chances, to be honest, Daniel, if you bring out your calculator and permutations of Ivory Coast qualifying as one of the 4 best third finish place teams, I think it's very, very slim.
Indeed. Sorry, I'm just copying something.
I mean, acknowledge they lost 2 games, and they only have 3 points. I think that I'm just speaking with hope because you lose a certain energy in a competition when the host team leaves so early. So for the sake of the quality of the competition, with the fans turning up in the stadiums, you want to see the host nation go further. I mean, it's just fingers crossed for them at this point.
But how about some tidbits, some very interesting nuggets from the Nations Cup so far? Can anybody hazard a guess of how many goals were scored after the second round of games so far in AFCON?
You'd have to help me out there, Peter.
Well, listen, I didn't sit down and count them myself.
More than 20.
65. That's a record. There were 41 goals in 2021 and 43 in 2019. So really good tournament so far. Lots of goals being scored. And another little nugget for you, Bushra Karboubi.
Yeah.
The Moroccan referee led the first all-female referee to refer a game at AFCON. That's such a great milestone. I just love it. And I thought they were all fantastic. You know,
that was
it
in
was
the
just
Guinea-Bissau Nigeria match, isn't it? Yeah.
that was indeed. You're right. Guinea-Bissau, Nigeria, and I thought it was just brilliant to watch. You know,
amazing, crucial game as well. You know, no controversial decisions. You know, I mean, there weren't opportunities for that much, for that many controversial decisions. If you watch
she
that
was
game,
stern as well. You know, I mean, the players
she handled her business like a pro.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. So
I think
well
it's
done
also
to her and her
important to
team.
say. I think it's also important to say when we're showing that CAF is you know making history in this tournament, having you know all female refereeing. You know the Nigeria Guinea-Bissau match. Let's not forget as well that the first ever female commentator at an Africa Cup of Nations in Amanda Dlamini, the former South African player, also in this competition. So breaking ground. So that's really great to see.
Now, I did promise you at the start of the show that we were going to be talking to one of Africa's footballing legends. He's a man who's played in 6 Africa Cup of Nations competitions. He was the Africa Footballer of the Year in 1988. He was the captain of the Zambian national team, coach of the Zambian national team, as well as the head of the Zambian FA. He was also one of the few players that survived in the 1993 plane crash that took the life of most of the Chipolo Polo that year. I'm talking about none other than the Great Kalu himself, Kalusha Bwalya. Welcome onto the program, my brother. How are you?
I've been well. Thank you so much. Enjoying the Africa Cup. It's always an important tournament for the players and for everybody in Africa. So yeah, I'm fine. I'm good.
Indeed, this is a delayed competition, a delayed tournament. It was meant to be played last year. But how do you see things so far? How do you see the football, the refereeing? You know what the players are doing. Has it improved over the years?
Yeah, no, I think the tournament has been superb. If you look at the last Africa Cup of Nations, I just thought that it was a tournament for the lesser-known African teams. Because when you look at Cape Verde, what they did, and you look at Gambia, what they did, Malawi, and I just noticed that most of the teams, Equatorial Guinea, the teams that were the winners of the Africa Cup the last time around, although Senegal did win the Africa Cup of Nations, I thought the lesser-known teams surprised everybody, and they were able to play so well. So when we started with this Africa Cup of Nations, you know, people are looking at the teams again, and then they're saying, "Oh, the smaller teams, you know, by name, they're doing well. They're there. They're fighting. You know, and Algeria has not been able to win, and you know, Egypt and Nigeria. You know, so it shows a marked improvement on the African game. So that means that whilst they are the big names, we know traditionally the big names in Africa when we used to play 20, 30 years ago. But today, you know, the level is very, very similar.
Even though Namibia lost 4-0, like you said, I mean, they won their first game against Tunisia, which came as a surprise to a lot of people. I want to talk about your boys, the Chipolo Polo. Yesterday, a lot of people would say a lucky draw against Tanzania. What do you make of that game yesterday? Oh, sorry, what did you make of that game?
Normally, when you look at Zambia and the history of Zambia at the Africa Cup of Nations, you know, we've always brought the A game to Africa Cup of Nations, be it, you know, before the 93 and after 93. And the team has always, you know, punched above its weight. And, you know, with the team with Avram Grant is new. Whilst we have a very lethal front line, I think that there's still a lot of work to be done, especially in the midfield and at the back. Okay, we have Sunzu at the back, who was winner in 2012, so he has brought a lot of calmness. But I think that you get that occasion where the players are playing their first Africa Cup of Nations and they're a little bit on the agey side. You know, they look nervous. couldn't put 5, 6, 7 passes together. So the tournament has yet to start, in my opinion, for Zambia.
Kalusha, you spoke about, this is a young team, their first Africa Cup of Nations. We've got like an experience, I guess, in your front line, a player like Patson Daka, who scored that equalizer very late on in the game. Do you feel that there's pressure on him up front to lead the team and get those goals?
No, because I think that when pressure is when you play World Cup qualifier. When you're playing, that's the pressure that you want for yourself. I think this is good. It's a good platform for the players. You have to come out and be counted and stand up. I think Patson is a big boy. He can live with that. I think he has done very well. I was just saying, we did some analysis on the first game. I was in Zambia on Diamond TV, and I just feel that as a striker like Patson, you're only as good as the balls that you get, the supply. So so the supply has been, give him a good cross. It was a beautiful cross yesterday. And he was there. He's always going to pounce. So he has that knack of scoring goals. Can score different left, right, header. We have seen glimpses of Fashion. I think Fashion, he has fought. Fashion Sakala has fought, for the, in the both games. The Kings, he's there. Scored a beautiful goal. I think it was a fantastic goal. Because you have to be quick. Again, Patson quickly threw the ball, and then a fantastic goal, because you have one chance and you have to get it right. I think that Manuel Banda should be on the pitch, in my opinion, because of what he brings that speed and turn of pace that Lamek Banda, sorry, that is needed. Lamek Banda is always wants to take on a man. So that's why I'm saying that I think with the Fashion Kings, Lamek, Patson, Sunzu, I think so far so good. I think they have been really trying to bring their game to the fore, and we only hope that on Wednesday they're in good form, and they have better luck.
Do you think that Zambia now has what it takes to go back to where it belongs on the African continent as continental champions, like they did in 2012?
If you're going to build a team, it can take 1 year, like what happened in 1993, because you have the whole nation on your back, and some of my greatest games with Zambia has been played with the new team. Of course, we played a lot of games with the old team, 88, for example, in Seoul. Then we came into 92 Africa Cup of Nations, and then if you look at 93, after the team died, 93 to 94, before Zambia was able to play in the final against the Super Eagles, we lost only 2 matches. Okay, we lost the final of Africa Cup of Nations to Nigeria, and then we lost an away game in Casablanca against Morocco to qualify for the World Cup. So sometimes you can build a team in 1 year, but then what we have done now with the 2012 team, for example, I started the process myself as coach. In 2006, the first Africa Cup of Nations in Egypt, in Alexandria. We won against Bafana. We lost to Tunisia. We lost to Guinea with Fenduna. So that was the process of the start. So when you look at 2006, 2008 in Ghana, the team was there. 2010, the team made big strides. We only lost with every now. We only lost in the second round, against Nigeria. So on penalties. So when we came to 2012, the team was ready. The team was ready to go. To say, look, guys, we're here to go to the second round, and we'll take it as we didn't say that we're going to win. We just said that we can play football against any team that they put in front of us. And the first game was against Senegal. Once Zambia won that game, once Zambia won that game in Bata against Senegal, the morale was so high, and the fluidity of our game was very impressive.
When you're talking about hoping that Zambia can turn up against Morocco, do you think that they'll be inspired by the fact that Morocco drew against the DRC? And what would you like to see from that Zambia team in that match?
Well, I think that the speed of the game. I think that if you look at DRC, DRC against Zambia, you could say that DRC was quicker in that game. The passing was a little bit fluid. So they were going quicker to Zambia, and now when you looked at DRC again against Morocco, they played almost the same game, but even a little bit faster. So that means that if Zambia comes to this game and are able to match, the team like Morocco that has done exceptionally well, probably the favorites at this tournament, if they can be able to match that speed, notch up to that speed that Morocco can play, then Zambia will be able to live with Morocco.
Let's move away from Zambia a bit now. What other teams in the tournament have caught your eye?
There's a lot of teams. I always fancy the underdog. So looking at Burkina, I'm looking at Equatorial Guinea. What they are doing. Cape Verde is always been difficult. Senegal, of course, I think man for man, they themselves, I think, although I think that Senegal, Morocco, man for man, I think probably they have the best players.
Kalusha, and of course, we have to ask you about a country that you live in. We can call it your second home, South Africa. How have you made of Hugo Broos from the first match to then their second match against Zambia, getting those 4 goals?
The Bafana in 2019, what happened? They went on and beat Egypt when Egypt was
but then Nigeria knocked them out in the quarterfinal.
Yeah.
Well, to make it to the quarterfinal. Yeah. So
that Nigeria you're talking about, or you're talking about this Nigeria?
Yeah, absolutely.
Kalusha,
obviously, is a good team. Don't write them off. Hugo Broos, he has been there. He has won the Africa Cup of Nations with Cameroon. He knows. I think that yesterday, the tempo that the team played, you can see that they found the balance. And even Zambia yesterday, with a few changes, the balance came into the team.
Just before we started this interview, I watched a free kick that you scored against Liberia in 2004. Last minute of the game, you were 41 years old, if I remember. Fantastic free kick. But for you, which was the best goal you ever scored for your national team?
You have to have the Zambians. I know I've been privileged to have been longevity, a long time with Zambia. So if you ask the Zambians, probably they will be able to tell you. But I have about 3, 4, 5. Yeah, probably 3 or 4, 5. That I would think they were important. Against Liberia was because I was too old to be on the pitch. If there was age limit, you would not be allowed to be on the pitch. And I remember the match commissioner, when we were giving them the lineup of the team, I'm standing there because I was just in my tracksuit and my T-shirt. And so they go on the list, they say number 1, the goalkeeper, say number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then they go to the substitutes. So remember those days we only had 16 players, on the field. So then the 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So when they came to 16, it was my name. And so the match commissioner said, and 16 was my name, and then after that is the coach. So again, my name. So they said, I think there's a mistake. There are 2 names here. So he said, no. The guy said, no, Kalu is on the bench, he's playing. So, we've been on the road for a long time, and it was a good free kick, but I feel important.
Can I ask a quick question? Could you tell us what the painting is behind you, sir? And is that you?
Yeah, so that's me when I used to play in Seco Bruges. That must be in 1980. I think Mimi was not born yet. In 1987 with Seco Bruges, and then we played Ghent. You know, the Ghent. They were wearing white. And one of the, in Bruges, one of the, not famous, but one of the painters, he saw this picture in the newspaper, and then he said the picture spoke to him, and then he made this painting. And but the guy, I don't think that he has even been to a football match, but he just said, I opened the newspaper one day and then I looked at this and then I met this. So the club made sure that they bought it for me, and it's one of my favorite items.
Listen, the Great Kalu, thank you very much for talking to us, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Cheers. All right,
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, guys.
Thank
Good
you.
luck. Good luck to everybody.
The great legend there, Kalusha Bwalya. What a great guy, and what a great player he was, Daniel.
Honestly, Peter, you read a great resume there, and that was such an insightful conversation. It's really great to have him on the show.
Okay, now, don't forget that you're listening to the Africa Football Showdown. You can download our podcast. Just go to wherever it is that you get your podcast from and type in the Africa Football Showdown. You can also watch us on YouTube. So, get going. Now, Daniel, let's look ahead to the remaining matches. We've got matches coming up in groups C to F. What can we expect?
Yes, indeed. Maybe there'll be more drama, Peter. Gambia faces Cameroon. Guinea also faces Senegal. Mauritania takes on Algeria. Angola will square off against Burkina Faso. Namibia will face Mali. South Africa, who had a very impressive last game against Namibia, will also face Tunisia. Zambia goes up against Morocco. And Tanzania plays DRC.
Thank you very much. Mimi, which games are you really looking forward to in the next couple of days?
As we've spoken to Kalusha, it was really interesting to see what he had to say about Zambia. So I'll be really keen to see how they do against Morocco, because Morocco have not yet themselves sealed their place into the next round after that draw against the DRC. And, they're seen by many before coming into this competition as one of the favorites. So it'll be really interesting to see how that match pans out.
Alrighty. Gambia will face Cameroon, and Guinea also will take on Senegal to finish off Group C. Mauritania will face Algeria. Angola will face Burkina Faso, and Namibia will face Mali, and South Africa faces Tunisia in a game I really want to see. Zambia faces Morocco. I know Big Kalu will be watching that with bated breath, and Tanzania will wrap up the group stage of the entire competition against DRC.
And Mimi, which of those games coming up jumps out at you?
Well, they're all very exciting games, Peter, because they're quite crucial, let's be honest. But one I'd say I'll really look out for is, I've listened to Kalusha Bwalya, what he said about Zambia. I'm really interested to see how Morocco fare against Zambia, especially after Morocco's 1-1 draw against DRC. And many people had seen them as one of the favorites before the competition started.
Indeed, I'm looking forward to, as Daniel mentioned there, South Africa versus Tunisia. I mean, South Africa, after that, romping to that 4-0 win over Namibia, they've put themselves back in the mix. So can Bafana make it to the round of 16? I really want to see that. I'd really like to see that game. And Tunisia is another game that, on paper, they're another team that are a good team, but just always. Most of the times just seem to fall short. Now, I want to move on further and ask you guys what you make of the fact that Egypt's talisman, Mohamed Salah, has been given permission to go back for rehabilitation to his club side, Liverpool. What do you make of that, Mimi?
Well, I mean, it's just looking at social media, it's drawn a lot of mixed response. He was at the match in the stadium in a game against Mozambique, watching on his team. His agent tweeted just not too long before the game started to say that actually Salah's injury is a lot worse than had been thought it would be. He would be out for about 28 days, and he's gonna do rigorous rehabilitation to try and make it back into camp. But it's drawn, as I said, it's divided a lot of opinion. Many feel that he should still stay. I also saw the Egyptian legend Ahmed Hassan being quoted on Twitter saying that Mohamed Salah should be staying to the very end, supporting his country regardless of his injury, rather than going back to Liverpool for rehabilitation. So I'd say the majority of fans, African football fans, are really not happy about the decision.
I also heard Jurgen Klopp, that's the manager for Liverpool, saying, well, if he comes back and he can return to the field of play, then they'll send him back to Ivory Coast to continue with Egypt if they are still in the competition. So I think maybe in a way trying to appease the Egyptian fans there. All right, guys, that's it for another week. Thank you very much for your insight and analysis into this fantastic Africa Cup of Nations. Now, just a quick one for our listeners. If you want to watch a clip of that free kick that I was talking to Kalusha Bwalya about, that he scored against Liberia back in 2004, we will be dropping some links on our YouTube page. So just visit our YouTube page and you'll be able to click on those links and watch some of his fantastic goals. That's free kick. I really, really loved that free kick. It's one to check out. But for now, Mimi and Daniel, thanks as always, and see you all again next week. Goodbye.
Thank you.
You don't feel that vibe. I don't feel that vibe.